Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. And before we get started, I'd just like to take this opportunity to remind everybody that today is Armistice Day, or Remembrance Day, or Veterans Day, or whatever, depending on where you're from. Today's the day we thank those who have served their countries and remember those, military and civilian, who gave their lives in conflicts past and present. And bearing that in mind, there's an Armistice Day weekend special currently running in World of Warships. There's a Veterans Day special running in Armoured Warfare. And in the World of Tanks premium gift shop, for a very reasonable price, you can buy a pack of emblems to decorate your tanks, and all proceeds from the sale of these emblem packs go to support the War Child charity. So with that announcement and little reminder out of the way, let's get on with the show. Today we're showing you Ghost 08 in the British Tier 7 premium light cruiser HMS Belfast. He's in a Tier 8 battle on the Northern Lights map. There aren't that many Tier 8s in this match though. The enemy team only have two, a Tirpitz and a Tashkent. Now the Northern Lights map can be very, very campy if there are a lot of destroyers around. Access from the northern to the southern side of the map and vice versa is via some very, very narrow channels that are very easily blocked by destroyers, particularly over where the camera's pointing around about now, which, if this was a domination map, would be Capture Point Charlie. And that's pretty much where Ghost is heading. So while he's steaming in that direction, we're just going to skip ahead until first contact is made with the enemy team. About 40 seconds later, first target spotted, Nürnberg cruiser. And momentarily, also popping into view, slightly further back, a Scharnhorst. From here, the Nürnberg is actually in range. Ghost holds his fire until he can get the shot off and not be detected when firing. The Nürnberg was no longer in line of sight. He does score 2 hits and sets the Nürnberg on fire, so that's not a good start for the Nürnberg. Meanwhile, a whole mess of enemy ships coming up the usual channel. 2 of the destroyers, Mayhan, Tashkent, backed up by a Tirpitz. The Mayhan's taken some hits. Friendly Mayhan, hauling ass, getting out of there, obviously detected. Shortly after launching a wall of skill down the channel. There go the torpedoes. Let's see if they're going to hit anything. Enemy Mayhan is taking further hits, and Ghost is now in range. He's slowing, in preparation for using his smoke screen if he has to. And he's going to start lighting that Mayhan up. And there we go. And pretty much all of the enemy team has now been spotted. Ghost's first salvo scores no hits. The Mayhan has dropped smoke. Now, the Mayhan is moving too quickly to remain effectively concealed inside the smoke screen, so he pops up. And that's kind of good news and bad news, because it means that he has just spotted Ghost. But it's also bad news because he's moving too quickly to stay concealed in his own smokescreen, so Ghost can see him as well. And the Mayhan has some good guns, but the Belfast's guns are better. And this is going to be first blood and Ghost's first kill of the match. For the next minute or so, there's not a lot of action. Well, there's a lot of action going on, but Ghost isn't directly involved in any of it. He's not too keen on popping around the corner of this channel and getting shot at by the Tirpitz and possibly torpedoed by the Tashkent. Or, well, when you're in a light cruiser, your armor's so bad that getting shot at by a Tashkent would be an unpleasant experience as well. So he considers heading over to this side to engage some of the enemy capital ships that seem to be, well, they're not pushing too hard, but they're managing to cane the crap out of the friendly team over on this side of the map. There's a Bayern over there who's already lost half of his health. A destroyer who's laying smoke and frantically trying to disengage as he gets his torpedoes away, but none of the enemy team are pushing down this channel. They seem content to just sit there and exchange long-range fire, and they do seem to be coming off best. Ghost's team have lost a cruiser, the enemy team have lost the Mayhan that Ghost sank. The scores are more or less even. There's not an awful lot in it. Ghost decides he's going to head back to his original position. That Bayern is actually sailing up the channel. The man's taken leave of his senses. Scharnhorst over there is, yes, he's just managed to take out an enemy cruiser and avoid the torpedoes fired at him, and now he's peeling off and falling back while keeping up the fire at the Bayern. There's a bunch of friendly ships, 2 battleships and a cruiser, sailing around the far side of the mountain range over there. Yep, it looks like this is definitely the place to be. Once again, he starts slowing down in anticipation of popping his smoke if he gets the attention of that Bayern. Torpedo launch there from the Mayhan, quite safe, no danger of friendly fire there. And the Bayern, his guns aren't even pointing this way, he's firmly tunnel visioning on the Scharnhorst. Ghost gets an initial salvo off with the armor piercing, switches to high explosive, gets that off before the torpedoes coming in from the flank and impact, and bang, tier 6 battleship, second kill. Let's not start baking a cake just yet, however. While it's going quite well on the eastern end of the map, the western flank is completely folded with the survivors running for their lives with enemy ships in hot pursuit. Ghost spots a Mutsuki. The Mutsuki is actually chasing the Mayhan. So there's a very, very good chance he is not aware that he is about to present a perfect broadside target to all 12 of Ghost's 152mm guns with high explosive loaded. Ghost hasn't even been spotted yet. It's the Mayhan who's IDing the Mutsuki. He's been spotted now. Is the Mutsuki paying attention? Well, Ghost's just taken a third of his health off and knocked his engine off, so he's probably paying attention now. The Mutsuki pops his smoke and starts manoeuvring. We can't see him just yet, but he has repaired the engine. There he is. No more flames coming from his funnels. Ghost gets a second salvo off. He's got the nose of the ship pointing firmly towards him. He's popped his hydroacoustic search. There will be torpedoes on the way. There they are. He's crippled the Mutsuki's engine again. With the hydroacoustic search active, he's easily able to avoid those torpedoes. Keeps up the withering high explosive fire on the Mutsuki, who now just has nowhere to go. He's already used his damage control ability. He can't get his engine back up again. Kill number 3. Once again, however, it's a little bit too early to celebrate because that's a Tirpitz at a range of about 8 kilometers. He's almost in secondary gun battery range. Let's not take any chances there. Slow down, drop the anchor, pop smoke. Tirpitz pops up again. Let's rip at the Tirpitz with high explosive, obviously hoping to set a fire. Does some damage, no fires set. Tashkent appears, sailing right into line of fire. Switches targets to the Tashkent rather than the Tirpitz. Obviously he has a much better chance of killing the Tashkent than he does the Tirpitz, and the Tirpitz is now out of line of fire anyway. Good first salvo at the Tashkent, multiple hits, sets him on fire. Second salvo, target not spotted, scores a couple of hits anyway. Starts reversing around the side of this island. Now, his hydroacoustic search is still active, but only for a few more seconds. If there are torpedoes heading this way, he's not going to see them. So rather than take any chances, he pulls back into cover. There are some very, very big guns closing in on that Tirpitz and that Tashkent, however. Here comes the Scharnhorst. Now just look at this. Look at the size of the Belfast next to the German battleship. They're almost the same size. The Town-class cruisers were the biggest light cruisers ever built by the Royal Navy. Ironically, the Belfast actually participated in the hunt and sinking of the Scharnhorst. Today, however, they're both on the green team. Ghost determined to finish that Tashkent before this Colorado can arrive and start to make a difference, but the Tashkent and the Tirpitz up ahead have a lot of guns firing at them. All those guys that swung around from the east are now in a position to catch them in a pincer. The Tirpitz, however, is putting some very accurate fire into the York. In fact, he's just sunk him. Ghost at full speed, still in hot pursuit of that Tashkent, and pouring fire into him with high explosive from the 152mm guns and the 2 forward turrets. Scores a hit, knocks out one of his gun turrets. That's going to be bad news for the Tashkent. He's taken a lot of fire from the Mayhan over there. The Colorado has finally got the range and is starting to put some fire into the friendly Tirpitz. And we've got a Tirpitz on Tirpitz duel here, as these two guys both sail in opposite directions and start broadsiding each other. The Tashkent just got hit, and is he... Yes, he's down. And there are the torpedoes from the Tirpitz. Missed the target, but they're heading this way, although, wait, no, it's alright, they only have a 6 kilometre range. He's at 7 kilometres. They're not going to have the range to be a problem for Ghost, and yep, there they go. That Tirpitz, however, is not going down without a fight. And he's just earned himself the Close Quarters Expert Award and nailed the Mayhan with his secondary gun batteries. And now he's probably going to want to be shooting, although the Mayhan did get a torpedo into him just after he went down. And yes, he is probably going to want to be shooting at Ghost's Belfast, because he is by far the easiest target for him to sink. So Ghost slows and pops his smoke, continues pouring the high explosive fire into the Tirpitz. The Tirpitz, however, is turning around, and he does have torpedo launchers on the other side. However, he is taking some pretty fearsome fire there in the flank. If he gets these torpedoes away, this could be a bit of a problem. And he probably is able to get the torpedoes away. Ghost's got his hydroacoustic search going again, just in case. And there's kill number 4, the Tirpitz. And the team badly needed the kill on that Tirpitz, because until that point they were behind both on kills and points. Now they're even on kills and slightly ahead on points, but there's really nothing in it. And yes, Tirpitz torpedoes incoming, starts reversing to get out of the way. Loads the armor piercing, fires a salvo at the Nürnberg, and that torpedo is going to be awfully close. He made it, and then boom, big old hit on the Nürnberg. 5 over penetrations, but 2 citadels, 10,000 damage. Smoke is still up, he is not detected, continues pouring the fire into the Nürnberg. Nürnberg, however, starting to angle, switches back to the high explosive. Armor piercing, not really doing it when the ship's pointing straight towards you. Disappointingly for Ghost, he starts getting some pretty miserable results with a high explosive as well. That's not a lot of damage. He didn't set a fire. More high explosive out, tries again, but hang on, now the Nürnberg's turning to avoid torpedoes. Back to the armor piercing, I think. Yeah, that's more like it. Come on, come on. Bingo. So that'll be kill number 5. Hooray! And then the enemy Colorado sinks the Tirpitz. So now they're behind on kills and points yet again. And now there is nobody for these enemy ships, the Colorado and the Miyoko, to shoot at other than Ghost in the Belfast. So it's time to put the pedal to the metal, haul ass, and get the hell out of Dodge. All the while, keeping up the fire on the Colorado, and he has set him on fire. The Miyoko for the moment is not an issue. He's well outside of range. In fact, he's so far away we can't even see him, but the Colorado is definitely inside shooting range. Ghost at the moment on full health, but, well, when you're in a light cruiser and there's a Colorado shooting at you, like that situation can change very, very quickly. Enemy Colorado focusing Ghost down. Friendly Colorado approaching from the east and slightly further to the north, putting some pretty decent fire into the enemy Colorado. Ghost takes this opportunity to turn around. There is a Miyoko closing in. He has some nasty guns. We need to finish off. Oh, and there's the Confederate award from the fire that he set on the Colorado. Ghost and the friendly Colorado that you can see putting fire in there further to the north. They need to finish this guy off before that Miyoko over there can bring his guns to bear. And they should be able to do it. There are, however, still 2 other enemy battleships unaccounted for. There's a Warspite, and as you can see from the battle notification that just popped up, there's also a Scharnhorst, and he has just sunk the friendly Fubuki, so it's now 4 against 2. The Fubuki was actually leading that enemy Scharnhorst a merry old chase all the way down the far southern end of the map border. The Scharnhorst managed to catch him and sink him, and he is now going to be heading in this direction. As Ghost pops smoke, once again, since the Colorado on the team has managed to get the kill and is spotting both the enemy Colorado and the Miyoko, Ghost is quite happily sitting inside the smoke screen, letting the Colorado do all the heavy lifting for him as he stays hidden and starts pouring armor-piercing fire into that Miyoko. The Miyoko has trash for armor, but at this kind of range and at that kind of angle, it seems to be good enough. This is pretty disappointing. He scored multiple hits and a penetration, but no actual damage. This is extreme range. Ghost debating whether or not he should leave the smokescreen and go after the Miyoko, because the Miyoko is going to be out of range very, very soon. He switched to high explosive. Let's not forget, the Miyoko has a very, very potent torpedo armament. Now, Ghost has a tough decision to make here. Have a look at the top of the screen. The enemy team are capping, but they're not capping because they want to win by capping. They're capping because they're heading north in order to come over here and prevent Ghost's team from winning by capping. There are the torpedoes from the Miyoko. Colorado knew they were coming, easily able to avoid them. At the moment, Ghost has two choices. He can go after the Miyoko with the Colorado and then turn to face the Warspite and the Scharnhorst that have to be heading north right now. This is why Ghost is looking to the south, or because he does have a lot of capture points at the moment, and there's the Warspite. He can remain undetected and just sit here, let the Colorado run interference for him, and attempt to win by cap. And that's what he's decided to do. He's begging the Colorado, don't leave the capture circle. He's got one charge of smoke left. If it comes to it, he can lay smoke. They can both hide in it and attempt to capture the enemy base. But it's going to be awfully tight because that Warspite is closing in and he is in shooting range. Now, Ghost is not detected, and he wants to remain undetected because he's got the lion's share of the capture points here. The Colorado keeps getting hit, keeps getting reset. He's turning to face the Warspite, putting some distance between himself and the Miyoko. It's all going to come down to how effectively that Colorado can just tank the damage and occupy the attention of the enemy team. Now, he's in a good ship for it. The Colorado is very, very tough, and he still has a fair old amount of health. Don't know how much repair he has left, however. The problem here is that he can only really angle his armour against one threat at a time. He's obviously going to want to angle his armour against the 15-inch guns on the Warspite. But that means the Miyoko, which is a faster ship, is now free to work his way around the flank and get some side shots into him. Ghost pops his smoke and he starts shooting up the Warspite. High explosive, he's managed to set a fire. He's got to try to buy some time for that Colorado, but it's vitally important he does not get detected, because right now he's got all the cap points. He's putting some very effective fire into that Warspite. But most of the damage here is going to be coming from the Colorado's big guns. Although, well, don't underestimate how much damage you can do with fires if you keep that high explosive spam up. But oh, and this is what we were afraid of. The Miyoko has worked his way around the side, and he's putting 203mm armor-piercing shell fire right into the Colorado's flank. He's unlikely to citadel him, but that damage is going to start to add up. And he's done. It's now every light cruiser's worst nightmare. One heavy cruiser and two battleships are coming for you. With the Colorado gone, he can't see outside of his smoke screen, so he pops his surveillance radar in order to get more shots into that Warspite, as the Warspite closes in and is now inside the capture circle. It is now impossible for Ghost to win by capping. With that Warspite still alive, he has to sink him. But it's a Warspite, and his radar is not going to last forever. Now he's blind again. Ghost, what are you going to do? Oh, there comes the fire from the Warspite, firing blind into the smoke screen. The Scharnhorst could be coming around the corner of that island right now, and he wouldn't know, sitting inside the smoke screen. He has to move. And of course, moving means he gets detected, and that's exactly what they were all waiting for. Manages to set another fire on the Warspite. The Warspite had just put the fires out that he'd set earlier, so that fire should continue to burn. But he's inside the Warspite's secondary gun battery range, and obviously also his main 15-inch gun battery range, and he's getting shot at by the Miyoko. He's behind on points. He cannot win by capping. He's just been citadeled by the Warspite. That looked like two citadels from the Warspite's 15-inch guns. The Warspite giving him the broadside again. He does not have torpedoes. He has to rely on these 152mm guns. His steering has just been knocked out. He instantly repairs that. Some very nasty fire coming in from the Miyoko. The only way he can win this match is by sinking that Warspite, which will put them ahead on points, and then staying alive for the next minute and a half. And here comes the Scharnhorst. He's just managed to get himself the high caliber. He's set another fire on the Warspite. Switches to the armor piercing, firing above the main armor belt, but below the line of the weather deck. That's where you're going to do the most damage. And he's managed to sink the Warspite. Now all he has to do is stay alive with the Scharnhorst and a Miyoko shooting at him for the next 40 seconds, and he's done it. The Miyoko is scoring some nasty hits, but he's got the ship angled, manages to avoid taking the citadel, making a beeline for the eastern end of the map, trying to get some form of concealment between him and the Scharnhorst's big old guns, because the Scharnhorst is one hell of a cruiser killing machine. The Miyoko keeping up the fire, looking at the timer. Come on, Ghost, come on, you can do it. Scoring hits on the Miyoko. Oh, taking hits from the Scharnhorst. So lucky not to get Citadel there. Barely has any health remaining. And then the clock runs out, and he's done it. I have to admit, I did not see that one coming. Not in a Belfast with a Wallspite, Scharnhorst and Miyoko all gunning for him. What a game. Even the enemy team were yelling in chat about what an amazing game it was towards the end there. Ghost, thank you for sending that one in. Everyone else, I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy your weekend, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.